Hello and welcome back to Holiday Horror, and this is my Christmas in July edition. I'm sorry my set does not have a lot of Christmas decorations around because I'm not ready to bring those out for at least the next few months, but I did want to talk about a Christmas in July edition of Holiday Horror, and obviously with the movie I'm holding, I want to be talking about Christmas with the Kranks. A movie about a family that decides, after their only daughter goes off to college or I think to join the Peace Corps, they decide, you know what, let's skip Christmas for 1 year. Let's go and take a cruise instead. They deal with the nosiest neighbors of all time. And honestly, that's not far off from the truth from at least where my wife and I used to live. Yeah. Some people just need to mind their own business. That's besides the point, though. So talking about this movie, Christmas with the Kranks, it is one of the most ridiculous. Definitely some things would never happen in this aspect, but that is a lot of Christmas movies, honestly. There's a lot of fake sentimentality when it comes to Christmas films, and there's nothing but crazy mayhem in this movie, and, well, I like it. I can't help but like this movie. This movie is I guess you would call a guilty pleasure. I'm not really guilty for liking it because I openly will admit that I like this movie. But this is a perfectly fun movie. I know some people will watch this movie and be like, this movie's so stupid. And yes, it is very stupid. But I mean, with Jamie Lee Curtis and Tim Allen, just kind of playing, your typical, normal, people in a suburban neighborhood, it makes sense. And Jamie Lee Curtis has done many great things in her career. Tim Allen mostly has just been on the comedic side, and I like both of them in this movie. I think it's pretty relatable, at least the crazy mayhem and just chaos of the holidays. This movie really captures that, especially for, you think, people trying to avoid Christmas. They would have an easier time, but they really don't. And especially when the characters of this movie live in a neighborhood where it just seems like everyone lives and breathes Christmas and Christmas decorations and traditions and stuff like that. You would think, it is really hard for them. They can't, stay away from carolers, trying to, I guess, change their mind and stuff like that. I do think there's a big contradiction in this movie. The general, they want to skip Christmas, take a cruise instead, and, everyone in their life is trying to tell them that what they're doing is wrong. And, for a good amount of the movie, they're sticking to their guns here. It's up until, this is a spoiler of the movie, but it's really, you see this coming from a mile away. Last second, their daughter calls them up and says, hey, I'm coming home for Christmas. And she's expecting, the traditions, of the family. And so this entire holiday season that they're preparing for their cruise to take Christmas Day, they have to pull the old switcheroo and try to make something happen. And they usually have this holiday party, leading into Christmas, at least a few days before Christmas, that is famous with the Kranks and, people in the neighborhood coming. And, so when that happens, there's a big old switcheroo. And I do like the aspect of this movie of how, when in times of need, it's just even the people who you feel are against you are actually there to help you. And that was something that's nice about this movie. And, yeah, because it's the people on the cover here are just oh, they're the characters you're basically rooting against. They're annoying and all this stuff, but they basically take their good intentions and bump it up to extreme level basically. And it's they're just trying to spread the Christmas spirit, and they're where's your Frosty the Snowman that everyone in the neighborhood has one? And they put it up on the roof of their house, and you're not doing that this year. There is some give and take that could have been done, obviously, with, at least compromising with each other, where it's people in the neighborhood could have at least understood that was like, hey, they're just taking a cruise this year for Christmas. Let's give them their space. It's like, it's not like they're just like canceling Christmas or something like that. But, obviously that would make for a very boring movie. And one thing, one of the funniest lines of this movie is just kids in the neighborhood keep calling on the Kranks, and Tim Allen's character Luther keeps picking up, and then he's like, I know this is you, Spike. And it's like one of the kids on the cover here who was actually, I think he was in Malcolm in the Middle. And so he just keeps calling him over and over to put up his Frosty the Snowman on his roof. And then eventually he gets so annoyed that Luther picks up the phone and he's just like, all right, Frosty's dead. And I don't know. I don't know. I thought that was hilarious. And it's funny, like, especially the character of Jamie Lee Curtis. She's just so kind. And even though she wants to go along with this plan of just taking a cruise during Christmas, she loves it because it's like, oh wow, we actually save money. And it's like they're, in a way, they're just kind of combating the materialistic views of Christmas, and like, rather than or all the politics that involve Christmas. And I think this movie tries to stay away from getting political in the movie, which is good, because I feel like a movie like this is just to stay as far away as possible. Like, it's not getting religious on anything or saying Jesus is the reason for the season, nothing like that. But it does at least kind of incorporate just like how much materialism goes in, and like consumerism goes into the holiday season, because it's like everyone wants to, obviously get gifts for each other, but some people take that to the very extreme. And with what, Tim Allen's character, it's like he's, crunching all these numbers on what they normally spend around the holiday season. And he's like, what, if we took a cruise, that would still cost like half the amount that we normally spend on the holiday season. And so Jamie Lee Curtis is like, we save money? What? And so me spieling this entire movie, some people are probably going to be like, that sounds horrible, blah, blah, blah. Why would you just skip Christmas? But it's like, I mean, this movie kind of like addresses just the whole, like, what if people don't celebrate Christmas? Like, there's one point in the movie where, everyone in the neighborhood's got all their Christmas decorations up except for the Cranks. And like these carolers come by, and then they're talking to one of the neighbors, and it's like, are those neighbors home? And it's just like, he's like, oh yeah, they're home. And then the lady's like, oh, are they Jewish? Because there's no Christmas decorations up. And then one guy's like, oh no, they think it's stupid to celebrate Christmas this year or something like that. And I'm like, well, I don't get that. It's just like, let people live their lives, And it's like, I get, your neighborhood or your street is like famous for having all these crazy decorations out and stuff like that. It's one of those things, though. You can't take this too seriously. So I think that's the reason why I like this movie. And especially at, towards the end of the movie where their daughter ends up coming home for Christmas. It's like everyone in the neighborhood, even though despite, them trying to stick to their guns and, kind of do their own thing for Christmas this year, they're like, well, they're in need, and, their daughter has been wonderful to everybody in this neighborhood, so we're doing this for her. And yeah, so it's like, it is relatable on that fact of, them just needing people. And it's just like, because it's so last second, it's like all the family members that they call are just like, everyone's got plans. So people in the neighborhood for this party, end up chipping in and making stuff, and, end up bringing it. And it turns out to be a successful party, and the daughter comes home, is really happy and everything. And I would say it kind of, Tim Allen's character is a little bit on like the, I guess, Scrooge or Grinch side, you would say. Like, he means well, but he's got a pretty dry sense of humor, and it's like, I can relate to that. And there's just things where it's like, husbands can definitely be grumpy old men sometimes, and it's like, he means well, and he can kind of come off as a jerk sometimes, but he makes up for the fact, like, at the end of the movie, and he does something really, really kind. And it's like, sometimes, I don't know, I saw a little myself in that, because there's sometimes I can be a grumpy old man and I can be pretty selfish, and there's there's certain things where it's like you want to just be a bump on a log and just be in your feelings, but at the same time, it's just like it's not always about you, and just doing things for other people. So it at least has a good message of just being like, it has the typical holiday season sentimental message of just being kind to one another and helping those in need. So that at least has a good message to it. It's like, despite all the flaws that are in like the first half of this movie, and like it's like they can't even go to the mall to go to a tanning salon just to get a fake tan, so at least they look like they're beach people when they go on their cruise. And then it's like the father of their church catches them like at the tanning salon. You're sticking your nose in other people's business a little too far. It's like, let them live their lives. But despite all those flaws, it's like they are human beings at the end of the day, and they are gonna, most people want to help out, especially with the holiday season. Most people want to help each other out. So I guess I just wanted to come on here and do a little spiel about this movie, how dumb it can be, but how, it has a nice message to it, and just the craziness of the holiday season. I would just say that this movie captures just the chaos of the holiday season really well, as far as dealing with your family and like, because families are very complicated, that type of thing. This is a little disconnected from that, just because it's like they have one child and she's going off to, the Peace Corps or college or whatever it was. I don't even remember. That's not really an important part of the movie, because she's just kind of there. And at the airport in the beginning, she says bye, and then she kind of comes back towards the end of the movie. And so, yeah, it's kind of disconnected on that whole family thing, because you're basically just watching like, a husband and wife, basically, now that their daughter is gone, it's like they have all this freedom now to, if they wanted to take a cruise, they can definitely do that. And yeah, so I enjoy this movie. I watch it every time around Christmas, and because it's July, we're halfway to the Christmas season, I just kind of wanted to come on and do a short thing to talk about it. And I very much enjoy this movie. I know some people probably hate this movie, and I completely get why you hate this movie if you do. Merry Christmas in July, I guess. I'm not really used to the whole Christmas in July thing, so I have been seeing things around of just like Christmas in July movies like pop up on my television and whatever, and so it's just like, you know what, I'm gonna do a holiday horror, I guess, Christmas in July edition. And this is no horror movie, but I would say it captures the horrors of the holiday season, of just the chaos and dealing with even just going to the grocery store and the last ham was taken by someone else, and then, or you're just trying to grab the last Christmas ham for your party, and it's like, oh crap, well, there ain't no Christmas party without no Christmas ham type thing. I'm rambling. Thank you all for watching. I will see you in a future video. Bye.